A phone rings at 11:42 p.m. The caller ID flashes a familiar name, a daughter away at college. When the mother answers, she does not hear a greeting. She hears sobbing, the chaotic screech of tires, and a panicked voice begging for help. The daughter claims she has been in a severe accident, injured someone, and is being held by local authorities who demand an immediate off-the-books payment to keep her out of jail. The terror is visceral. The voice on the line is an exact, flawless match. Every inflection, every breath, every subtle vocal tick is perfectly replicated. But the daughter is asleep in her dorm room, hundreds of miles away, her phone resting quietly on a nightstand. This is the chilling new frontier of digital deception. What you just heard described is not a scene from a dystopian thriller. It is a daily reality, engineered by AI voice cloning. What once required hours of clean studio-quality audio and massive computing power to achieve now takes less than 3 seconds of a scraped social media video. Fraudsters use deepfake audio to weaponize the most trusted biometric identifier we possess, the sound of our loved ones. This highly accessible technology powers modern urgent money transfer scams, bypassing our logical defenses by triggering an immediate, primal response that overrides rational thought. The entire mechanism relies on hijacking the human amygdala. When you hear a familiar voice in profound distress, your brain instantly suppresses critical thinking in favor of an overwhelming fight-or-flight reaction. Scammers meticulously engineer these high-stress scenarios to demand a rapid, untraceable money transfer, usually via cryptocurrency wallets or international wire services. They know they must extract the funds before the victim's heart rate slows down, before the panic subsides, and before there is a single moment to verify the reality of the situation. You might wonder how these invisible attackers obtain the audio necessary to pull off this illusion. The digital footprint we leave online is an absolute goldmine for social engineering. A public video post, a brief real estate listing tour, an archived corporate podcast, or even a simple 10-second voicemail greeting provides all the raw data a criminal requires. Cybercriminals deploy automated bots to scrape this audio from the public internet, gathering vast libraries of potential voices without the victims ever knowing they are being surveilled. Once the raw audio is captured, it is fed into accessible, low-cost generative AI tools found on the dark web or even the open internet. These algorithms map the unique cadence, pitch, and timbre of the target's speech, creating a highly accurate digital clone. The attacker simply types a script into the software. The program synthesizes the text into speech, applying sophisticated emotional filters like breathlessness, crying, or simulated background interference to mask any slight robotic anomalies or digital artifacts. The resulting deepfake audio is then deployed through caller ID spoofing, making the incoming call appear entirely legitimate on the victim's phone screen. The financial devastation left in the wake of this technology is staggering. In a single year, regulatory bodies like the Federal Trade Commission have reported tens of millions of dollars loss specifically to imposter scams utilizing artificial intelligence. These are not isolated incidents. They are coordinated, high-volume attacks designed to extract maximum capital in minimum time. But the financial toll is only a fraction of the total damage. The psychological violation of having a loved one's identity hijacked leaves lasting, traumatic scars on families who thought they were simply answering a desperate cry for help. That digital betrayal fundamentally alters how victims interact with technology moving forward. The once reliable markers of truth, seeing a name on a screen and hearing a familiar voice, are completely eroded. Trust, the foundational currency of all human communication, is effectively weaponized against the user. Law enforcement agencies face monumental hurdles in tracking these syndicates. Because the perpetrators operate across international borders, jurisdictional red tape slows down investigations. By the time a victim realizes they have been defrauded, the stolen funds have already been laundered through decentralized blockchain networks or offshore accounts. The money vanishes within minutes of the transaction, leaving investigators chasing digital ghosts across a global, anonymized infrastructure. The sheer accessibility of these cloning tools means the barrier to entry for criminals has plummeted to terrifying new lows. We are no longer dealing solely with elite, state-sponsored hackers or highly sophisticated cyber gangs. Everyday opportunists can now purchase subscription-based voice cloning software, complete with dedicated customer support and step-by-step tutorials on how to maximize emotional extortion. This democratization of fraud creates a massive volume problem for security professionals. Automated systems can now scrape thousands of social media profiles, generate cloned audio files en masse, and initiate thousands of robocalls simultaneously. When a target picks up the phone, the AI listens for a response, dynamically generating the next line of dialogue in real time based on the victim's reactions. It is a highly scalable, terrifyingly efficient extortion machine that never sleeps, never hesitates, and constantly refines its approach based on successful interactions. Recognizing the trap requires understanding the specific psychological triggers these criminals deploy. The absolute hallmark of this fraud is an artificial, intense time constraint. The cloned voice will always insist that secrecy is paramount, forbidding the victim from hanging up, calling the police, or contacting other family members. They demand immediate, unquestioning compliance, using the threat of physical harm or legal ruin to force the target into action. Another critical indicator is the requested payment method itself. Legitimate authorities, hospitals, or bail bondsmen will never demand payment via cryptocurrency, wire transfers to overseas accounts, or prepaid retail gift cards. The moment an urgent request pivots to these untraceable mediums, the facade begins to crack. This pivot is the telltale signature of a scam, revealing the underlying mechanics of the deception, regardless of how convincing the voice on the other end of the line might be. Defending against this sophisticated threat requires a proactive, structural shift in how families handle emergency communication. The most effective countermeasure is the implementation of a family safe word. This must be a pre-arranged, easily remembered word or phrase known only to your inner circle, never shared via text message or email. If a loved one calls demanding emergency funds, asking them for the safe word immediately short-circuits the artificial intelligence's pre-programmed script. If the caller cannot provide the safe word or attempts to deflect the question with increased panic and aggression, you must disconnect immediately. Do not trust the caller ID, no matter how legitimate it appears. Hang up the phone and dial the person's known number directly. Even if the spoofed call was active seconds ago, initiating a new outbound call routes you to the actual cellular device owned by your family member, bypassing the scammer's malicious network entirely. Taking that deliberate pause is incredibly difficult when adrenaline is flooding your system. The fraudsters explicitly count on that hesitation feeling like a betrayal of your loved one in their moment of need. But reclaiming those 3 seconds to hang up and verify is the single most powerful weapon you possess against social engineering. It breaks the emotional spell, stops the momentum of the scam, and restores your logical processing capabilities. To fully protect yourself, you must also understand how these syndicates select their targets. They do not dial numbers entirely at random. They conduct meticulous reconnaissance using compromised databases, data broker leaks, and public social media structures. By mapping family trees, identifying recent travel plans, and noting behavioral patterns, they craft a highly personalized narrative that makes the sudden emergency seem entirely plausible and contextually accurate. If a grandparent frequently posts public updates about their grandson's cross-country road trip, the attacker has both the voice sample and the perfect narrative context. The resulting fraudulent call will reference specific locations, recent events, and accurate names, layering verifiable truth over the deepfake audio. This blending of real data with synthetic voices creates an almost impenetrable illusion of reality that can fool even the most skeptical individuals. This brings us to the critical need for robust data protection. Mitigating your risk starts with aggressively locking down your digital footprint. You must audit your social media privacy settings today. Ensure that videos and audio recordings of you and your family are visible only to trusted connections rather than the public internet. The less raw material available for automated bots to scrape, the harder it is for a criminal to build an accurate vocal model. Furthermore, treat your voicemails with the same high level of security. Replace personalized greetings that feature your distinct voice and name with generic, automated system messages provided by your carrier. While it may seem overly cautious or impersonal, it removes a universally accessible, high-quality audio sample from the public domain. Closing this massive vulnerability denies scammers the exact raw material they actively hunt for. The landscape of artificial intelligence is evolving exponentially faster than regulatory bodies can draft protective legislation. While elite cybersecurity firms are developing advanced detection algorithms to identify the microscopic artifacts and unnatural breathing patterns hidden within synthetic audio, the technology remains locked in a constant arms race. For every detection tool created, a new generative model emerges to bypass it, leaving consumers caught in the crossfire. Ultimately, the front line of defense against this digital onslaught is not a software patch, but human vigilance. As artificial intelligence continues to blur the line between reality and fabrication, our inherent reliance on the sound of a human voice must be coupled with rigorous, uncompromising verification protocols. Trust your instincts, verify every emergency, and protect your digital identity with relentless discipline.